You're listening to WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul.
Check, check, 1, 2. Look like a little country, some rock and roll and blues. 'Cause we sure love playing for good people like you. Let me know if you can hear me. Check, check, 1, 2.
Welcome to Music Local and Sustainable, the radio show that features discussions with and the music of local musicians. I am your host, Dave Lake. Tonight in the studio we have Rachael Shaner. Some of you know her as an upright bass player. Some of you may know her as a guitarist and singer performing at some of the local clubs and restaurants. But tonight we are talking with Rachael as a songwriter and performer, with the release of her new album on February 2nd at the Trinity United Methodist Church, performing as Lulu the Giant. Welcome, Rachael Shaner.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
Well, listening to some of the tunes that are on the album, gets a pre-release copy. It's really interesting because on a song like Kingdoms Fall, you use sort of what I'm going to call a Marilyn Monroe voice. Okay. It's sort of light, slightly transparent, breathy.
Yeah.
But then on a song like Now, Now, Baby, you use a much more forceful, sonically resonant voice. Was that a choice, or is that just the way it is heard by me? And maybe I'm just making this up.
Now Now Baby's like the Temptations, the Motown feel, the full voice, some would call belting in that sense, and then Drown and Kingdoms Fall are very bluesy, very Marilyn Monroe style.
That was
intentional. Yeah. I didn't start out singing. The voice came after I felt comfortable enough on the bass to bring another layer into my music. And it took a long time to build the confidence to allow people to hear me singing, because I'd always had my creative outlet and my creative voice through my upright bass growing up and even now. So vocally it's always come second, and first, my first love always has been upright bass. But when I started experimenting, I guess would be the word, I would listen to so many different vocal performances and recognize what people enjoyed about it, what I personally enjoyed from it, and then I just tried it out to see what may come of it and what was good and what was bad. And there was a lot of self-criticism in that and self-critique, because being a classically trained artist, you tend to do a lot of very minute changes and very big attention to detail. So your perspective is always going into that. You can imagine that with the composers, just the crazy stories that you hear about them and their pieces. Not to compare it to classical things, but that is the relation. So when I started delving into my personal voice, I realized that some songs called for breathiness, and some songs called for full voice, and some songs called for that down south country feel that is there, but that is sometimes covered.
The other reaction that I had listening to the songs, particularly songs like Hopscotch and Bourbon and Kingdoms Fall, was the complexity of the rhythms and the complexity of the harmonies. Very unusual harmonies, very lacking hooks. The melodies and the harmonies really don't have that natural hook to want to rush out and just start humming it walking down the street after listening to it. But it has a marvelous complexity that really draws you in to the density of the sound and the complexity of the sound and the unusual harmonies that you use, or sequences of harmonies that you use. Again, was that intentional?
Yeah, when writing songs, it's always bass driven. So these songs have been built on either first lyrically, like the writing of it, or first on the bass line. Specifically in Kingdoms Fall, the hook is the bass line. It's a doom 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 constantly, whole song, and then there's a breakdown. But the hook for that, you're right, there is no natural hook. There's no phrase that is repeated ever in the whole song.
Kingdoms for Mr. Know-It-All. Your tower like Babel will fall. All your strivings come to dust, stealing glory to feel the rush. Pride and wonder, curiosity. Ain't no good residing in you, digging tunnels with no way through, laying bodies against the roofs, tying nooses with laces from your shoes. Leave your mark, just don't tread on me. Train whistles blowing close now, covering your tracks, can't keep me tied down. I got free cause I cut down my flesh. I'm the unknown traveling in blue sky wilderness. Life and death ain't the boss of me.
A part of that is that I think we have so many words in our language that go unused. And in order to get the feel of the emotion that I'm trying to create, we don't just sing over, I love you and then I don't love you anymore. I love you and then I don't love you anymore. That theme is there, but our reactions to it are not the same in any kind of love that we go through, in any kind of circumstance that we go through, any kind of environment that we're in. So specifically in Kingdom's Fall, I decided against repeating a phrase except the bass line. And then in Hopscotch and Bourbon, we do have that repeating chorus, but it is not so out there that that you think, oh, this is the difference. Like, oh, this is where it starts. Because that whole song is a storyline, and there really is no beginning and end, and it kind of ends on, okay, you've come to this resolution of redemption, but you still have to battle what was going on prior to. It's a constant journey, and I think that's why it is lacking a hook, or I should say lacking a hook that is often found in popular music. So people do remember Hopscotch and Bourbon, they're like, what else is there? It's like grape juice and wine, and then they keep going, and then that's probably the most popular song that I sing out. They just really get into that. It's good when they remember the lyrics because it doesn't repeat.
Daddy said when I was young, with his hard heart and a heavier tongue, not much that I could understand. Not till much later would his heavy words land. My fragile frame breaks again as I stretch up to touch the sky. You forgot my name. There weren't any games, just boards, blanks in our eyes. That's what the preacher meant when he said such is life. Hopscotch and bourbon, made much sense. Well, I was young and they've landed since. Now I run on adrenaline and love. I see how you struggle, call that preacher man's bluff. I see your insides, your heavy stride. Now you run on adrenaline and love. Now I know what I've been made of. Hopscotch and bourbon, grape juice and wine, jump ropes, strung out hopes, strung up just a little too high. Your ballerina danced just far enough to know it's fine, yeah, it's alright to grow up on adrenaline and love.
Well, it's very compelling. Also, Kingdom's Fall. The lyrics are very compelling. Let's start with Kingdom's Fall. Phrases like, all your strivings come to dust, digging tunnels with no way through, is pointing to no matter what you try to do, bad things will happen. No matter what you try to do, you have these obstacles that you constantly have to overcome.
Yeah, so Kingdom's Fall, it's always going to be different for whomever hears it. These phrases are a fight within yourself, but also fighting the external forces. When I wrote it, it was a fight with the devil. He's just constantly just trying to get you down and get you down. that theme is there, but then at the end, I got free because I cut down my flesh. I'm the unknown traveling in blue sky wilderness, and that goes towards the spiritual realm where if you can balance yourself and overcome, just cut down the needs of the flesh and the wants and desires, and it just makes it a little bit easier. You're free, and it's still this very like powerful fight song for me. It's like an anthem, like you can do this. Originally writing that, I just remember, the headspace I was in, and I was just getting mad. Digging tunnels with no way through, there's just coffins in the ground, and all your strivings come to dust because at the end of the day, I'm gonna win.
What was the origin of the phrase, I got free because I cut down my flesh? And then relating it to traveling blue sky wilderness. That's very obscure.
It is, and it's meant to be. I think with some people it resonates like getting rid of that relationship that was holding you down, or getting rid of whatever was holding you back, right? And in this storyline, you see the damsel in distress on the train tracks, and she's tied down. The normal, understood outcome is that somebody comes and saves her. Somebody comes and cuts off the ropes, and she's off the train tracks, and she's free. But you can't be waiting for a hero. You can't be waiting for Prince Charming to come and save you. You've got to be able to be strong enough to do it yourself, and it is a fight. It's a constant fight, but at the end of the day, it's worth it.
And you have to rely upon yourself.
Yeah. Life and death ain't the boss of me. So whatever is conceptualizations of hero and heroine, or damsel in distress and hero, we can change that. We can write our own story. And then at the very end, life and death ain't the boss of me. You don't have to live in whatever space you've been confined to.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Now that's a very untraditional song. There's no chorus. It's just continual storytelling, for instance, from different points of reference. It's sort of getting at the same point from different points of reference.
Yeah.
On the other hand, a song like Now Now Baby is a much more conventional song.
Yeah, you've got your hook, you've got your chorus, you've got your verses. That's the complexity of being a songwriter. I want to stay true to myself, and in that, I have these obscure and abstract themes going on in my writing, but sometimes you just need to write a good love song. Sometimes you just need to get that out and talk about missing your baby. So that's where Now Now Baby comes in, and everybody feels that. I mean, some people may not feel like they don't want a hero. Some people may want a hero in Kingdom's Fall, but come to Now Now Baby, everybody wants love.
In every song, there's always the line that sort of catches you, and in this case, it's a chorus. It seems like everything is wrong and nothing's been right since you've been gone.
Mm-hmm.
that's the reason I want to get back together. And in that case, the meaning is really in the chorus.
Mm-hmm. The back and forth is a call and response. She's just yelling. She's like, "Hey, now, baby," and he's yelling back from wherever he is. That's why there's multiple voices. Hey, now, baby, and yeah, ain't nothing. Everything's been wrong. Ain't nothing right since you've been gone. The funny thing about that song is that it wasn't about love to begin with. That now, baby part. Growing up, my dad would go through the house, whatever we were doing. If we were doing something good, he'd get this altar voice, whatever it was. And he'd go, "Hey, now, baby." And I hope I did that justice, but, I mean, he'd say it, and then we'd all try to mimic it. We'd be on the soccer field, or we'd be at a swim meet, or we'd be performing, we'd be dancing, or we'd be playing our instruments. Walk in and say, "Hey, now, baby." And I said, "Dad, where did you get that from?" I was thinking about it later because I just love that. I just feeling real good about it. Like, that's when you're like, yeah, you're feeling real good about it. So when she's calling in the song, she's saying, "Hey, now, baby, where you at?" Just changed it a little bit. And he calls back, and then she's like, yeah, he called back. So now it's like, "Hey, now, baby." Goes back to that original mimicking of it. So I asked him where he got that from because I was like, "Did you just make that up?" And he says, "No, I was playing football at Savannah State. And there was a quarterback. He would just yell it. If you were doing anything good on the field, he would just say, 'Hey, no, baby.'" But it was like so much faster, I took it back down. And that was actually Cam Newton's dad. Who's like, I was like, oh, that's a really funny story. So, yeah, so now there's a song about my dad's football days. But it's a love story too, so.
Now, baby, oh baby, won't you make some time to go? 'Cause I am feeling so lonely, though I've got my friends around. Now, baby, oh honey, if I could just hear your voice, let me know that you love me. I'll be waiting for you when you come on home. It seems like everything is wrong, ain't nothing been right since you've been gone. Been singing, "Hey, now, baby. Hey, now, baby. Hey, now, baby. Hey, now, baby. Hey, now, baby." Now, honey, oh honey, you ain't got to worry about my love, 'cause my heart went with you the day you left home. It seems like everything is wrong, ain't nothing been right since you've been gone. I'm not sugar, oh sugar, why'd you have to go so far? 'Cause I need you, I need to feel myself in your arms. Seems like everything is wrong, ain't nothing been right since you've been gone.
Tonight in the studio, we have Rachael Shaner. Now, just a technical question. Are all the voices yours?
Except that one male voice in Now Now Baby. I play live constantly. Being in the studio is a completely different headspace you have to get into. And so when you play live, you don't get another chance. That's it. You go to the studio and the engineer's like, that was just a slight bit flat. You know, I'm just like, so? Can we move on? And he's like, no. So then singing those harmonies, we're trying to keep it like a personal, intimate experience. So all of the instruments and the voices, aside from the drums and the violin, we played acoustic and electric and bass and bells and Wurlitzer, whatever it was, me and the engineer. So it was just these constant timeouts where if we needed something, we would do it. On stage, you don't get to have that freedom. Like, oh, of course I could play the tambourine, but I've got to focus on the bass. Or, of course I could play the acoustic, but I've got to focus on the bass. And, you know, of course I could solo right now, but I'm playing live, so I don't have something to back me up. But that was just a really good time. So those harmonies, yeah, we worked through those and loop upon loop upon loop upon loop. And finally got to somewhere where I felt comfortable with it, and I was thankful for that. And obviously the voicings on the bass, always being in the context of an orchestra, you're playing harmony and actually utilize what you learned growing up with.
Now, I believe it is on Kingdom's Fall. There's some really nice guitar licks.
Yeah.
Is that you?
No, so the electric guitar is the engineer, and what was great, his name's Sunny Lyons, he's awesome. I already had these parts in my head, but being the bassist that I am, I've been playing rhythm guitar, but not ever spending time on the electric. I sang the parts, and he just went back and nailed them. So some of the actual vocal tracking is still in the songs where I'm singing it, and he just added that as this flavor that was there in the studio of how raw it was. But he just nailed it. So no, that was all Sunny. Yeah.
A really nice balance.
Yeah.
With the lyrics, which take a lot of effort to sort of think through and listen carefully to. Honestly, I think I like this more on album than live, even though I like live music better, only because it gives you a real chance to listen to it again and again and again to get that full depth of meaning.
Absolutely.
And sensibility.
Yeah.
But in this case, it was really nice to have that sort of concentrated complexity of thinking through what was going on in the lyric, and then have these great guitar riffs going on. That balance was just terrific.
Yeah, and he's a brilliant producer. I couldn't say enough about him. It was just such a pleasure to work with somebody at such a high caliber of musicianship, because a lot of times I work with so many people, and they're all great. But, you know, going in and being able to say, this is what I would like you to play, and sing it. And then for them to be completely humble enough to say, yeah, and do it, and nail it. I was just so enthused, just blown away, so thankful for that. He didn't take it personally at all. He just said, that sounds good, let's do it. And then he just put his flavor on that touch and his technique, which is a brilliant contrast with the softness of the bass in the song, which is still driving, but a completely opposite. Was
the acoustic bass mic'd, or did you put pickups on the bass?
So I have a pickup on my bass, and it was actually mic'd. We did have the bass plugged in, but we do both. That's what it comes down to. You've got to give yourself multiple options, because there might be some super sweet thing that I played and then we didn't get it on the mic perfectly, or it bled through, whatever it was. But all of the tracks that we ended up using were the mic'd bass, which I was thrilled about. I actually broke my bass in 4 pieces last year, and the acoustic quality of it was completely changed, obviously. But the warmth was still there, and I was so surprised about that. Eddie out at Randy Woods actually put it back together. I was really thankful for the outcome of that. It did sound foreign. It was not what I'd been playing for the last 10 years, but it still had its own personality. So I was very thankful that the mic'd quality of its acoustics still had the integrity to use on the tracks.
Yeah, because there's a real richness
to
those bass tracks.
Yeah. And it is a 4/4 bass. It's a full-size bass. A lot of people play a 3/4 bass, which is just a little bit smaller, but having that extra room for the sound to resonate, it makes it more bassy. And so it has always had a really good tone. I'm looking over at it so sentimentally. It's always had a really good tone, and it was hard. It was either buy a new bass or fix that one, and it was hard to give up the feel of something you'd been playing for 10 years. So it was hard to say goodbye, and I just got it fixed, and he did a great job, and again, I was very thankful for that outcome. But yeah, the richness of the bass, just, you can't beat it. That's why I've stuck with it.
It's probably a very sensitive topic, but would you mind going through how the bass got damaged?
Oh no, that's fine. Wow, let's see where I start. The condensed version is I ran a red light, hit a car. My bass was in the car. The less condensed version is I was at a photo shoot for a charity event coming up, and we had just done the photo shoot, and it had just started raining. And we got done. Did not want to drive my bass down there. I asked my friends in my band if we could all fit it into the van, but there wasn't room, and we didn't have time, and so I was like, okay. I was hesitant about driving that day because I had just dropped my dad off at the ER, so he was getting another surgery done because he's diabetic, so he's an amputee now, but I had just dropped him back off, and so just didn't know what was going to happen, if he was going to lose his other leg or what was going on, but I had obligated myself to play this event, and I was going to, not do it, so just going back and forth in my head, obviously very stressed and super worried, but I had asked to put the bass in there because I knew I shouldn't have been driving. I was just an emotional wreck. Unfortunately, that turned into
a physical wreck.
A physical wreck. My sister had just totaled her car the day before, too. I had just dropped my dad off. I mean, this was an insane domino effect, and I told my family what was going on, and just like that, she totaled her car, got in a wreck, her fault. That's why I didn't want to drive. I was like, okay, if that's going to happen to her, she's great. Anyway, I was going 30. It's like a 45. I was going 30, and it just didn't click that the light was red. I just ran into a truck. I was fine. I was so thankful for that. Obviously, I had a panic attack after that, and I was like, I got to go to the hospital. And they were like, you need to go to the hospital. I was like, no, not for me. What ended up happening was I met a really great one of the casting agents for the Captain America movie, and she was awesome. Her name's Marty, and she just came and just became mother hen to me. It was so sweet, and I still talk to her. She's been such a support system. But my drummer Daniel came, and I just looked at him. He was like, how's the bass? And I was like, I don't know. So he goes and he gets the bass out of the car, and he's like, the bass is fine. I'm sitting there having a panic attack. Bass is fine. Probably 6 hours later, he looks at me and he says, I just need you to calm down. Doesn't sound good. I have not opened it. Does not sound good. I was devastated. It was in pieces. I mean, I hadn't even hit that hard. That's the thing. I wasn't going that fast. But it's such a frat. I mean, it's made of wood. Like, what do you expect? It's not a steel thing. And I was heartbroken. The luthier, George Hofer, had just passed away a few years ago from cancer, and I knew that I just needed to have the bass back. So the best part about that was immediately I got 25 phone calls from musicians from the music community, and they were like, I think I saw your car in this wreck. Are you okay? I'm fine. Well, how's the bass? And I was like, it's not fine. And Erica Jarman from House of Strut and Dana immediately put together a fundraiser. It's not a cheap fix. It's cheaper than buying a new bass, but it is not a cheap fix. That was honestly my savings. That was an investment. Had it still been whole, it would have been worth a lot of money. It's way worth way more than my car. Anything that I own, put it all together, still not worth as much my bass. Not the case anymore because it's broken. They rallied together and everyone came together, and it was just so great. There was a little concert at the House of Strut. I mean, even the venue owners, Chris from the Barrel House, came together, and just immediately, I mean, it was just like that. There was such support, and it wasn't just financial support, it was emotional support. We got to get you back playing. Coy Campbell of Nightingale News and Zachary Smith of The Accomplices immediately texted me. They said, if you need to borrow my bass, let me know. And I was so grateful for them. I was just like, man, you guys, it really made you appreciate the Savannah community, how it's not a competition, how it really is a building up, supporting, a creating of the arts, and just a coming together like a family. I was blown away, and I don't think you can get that in another city, and that's why I'm still in Savannah. I love it. So that's that story. I just really am amazed. it was such a real and evident and obvious picture of what a music community should be. I was able to get back playing, I was able to get my bass fixed, and here it is. And my dad's great, so that's good. I mean, all things considered, he's a little broken up like that too. But he's good too, so yeah.
Although that day was horrendous, the end of the story is good in both circumstances.
Yes. And I think you have to go through some real deep sorrow to get to real true joy, and that was very evident. I was just like, really? I gotta take my dad to the hospital, and my bass is just shattered, and I wrecked my car, and it's my fault, and everybody was fine. I just, so many things at once, and then coming out of that, though, was such a deep sentiment of joy and gratefulness. It really solidified why I'm still in my hometown, rather than going off to Nash Vegas or Austin or wherever. Love Savannah.
You're listening to WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. If your business enjoys the programming on WRUU-LP, please support the station with a donation. Let your customers, neighbors, and friends know that you share our vision of building a thriving economy based on a diverse and vibrant community. Our listeners will know you support Savannah's only broad-based community radio station. Become a tower sponsor or underwriter. To check out the levels of corporate sponsorship and to donate, go to www.wruu.org/corporate. Again, to check out the levels of corporate sponsorship and to donate, go to www.wruu.org/corporate. Thank you for listening to and supporting WRUU-LP. You're listening to music local and sustainable, and I'm your host, Dave Lake. Tonight in the studio we have Rachael Shaner. Well, let's talk a little bit about hopscotch and bourbon. I will join the rest of the crowd saying this is probably one of my favorites.
Good.
It's a very intriguing story. Mm-hmm. It is wonderfully crafted, particularly because you hear the chorus as you're going through, and then the chorus is used as part of that ending, as part of where you are at the end. And when I got to that point, I said, whoa. That is really true craftsmanship.
Thank you.
How long did it take you to work on a song like this?
Well, that depends. You could say my whole life or a few months. It wasn't something I wanted to share, but it was something that was therapeutic for me. And it was actually written all at once in a coffee shop downtown. And it was not meant to be a song. It was just a self-evaluation thing for me and where I was. So when I set out to say this is something that can be healing for more than just me, I decided to make it a song. And so it was funny because as I was writing it, I kept going back to that theme, hopscotch and bourbon. So that wasn't even, I didn't specifically put that in as the chorus. It was a natural theme for me as I was writing it. It was not meant to be a song. So when it came together, I just looked at it and I said, this could not be any more obvious. This is where it needs to go. So the music came later. The story was there. In fact, there was very little redraft on it. It was just a place where I came very vulnerably and open from my heart and let it flow through and came to that resolution. Really, again, like I said, it could have taken my whole life, or it could have been at that moment.
It's very interesting because it starts with unrelenting criticism. Mm-hmm. But as a young person, the narrator, pointing right at her and say the narrator, yeah. I don't want to use the word you necessarily, yeah. Although you made it sound autobiographical.
Right, yeah.
But the narrator says, I heard it, but I didn't understand it then. Mm-hmm. But when I grew up, I understood it.
Right.
And then it goes through the story, and the trials and tribulations, but then it comes to the end and says, that's the way it is. That's the way I am.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. And that's good.
Yeah.
Because that's who I am.
Exactly. You nailed it.
Hopscotch and bourbon. Where'd that come from?
A very difficult, confusing, and dark time growing up. And alright, so I'm trying not to cry right now.
Well, there's a suggestion that this is going to be explained at the Trinity with the album release.
Yes.
And so I'm giving you a chance to get it out of your system.
Yeah, I know.
In a comfortable environment. Hopefully this is a comfortable environment.
Yes.
A caring environment.
Yeah, again, thanks for having me in the studio. It's awesome. Okay. I'm going to start with this. I love when I write a piece and it resonates with people in such different ways. And it's true, fully true for all of them. So for me, as I wrote this piece, I'll say it from that point. Again, I want everyone to feel exactly what they need to feel through it and filter through it as they see fit. But for me, I'll just take some of the phrases out. Daddy said when I was young, with a hard heart and a heavy tongue. That goes into the mumbling, the alcoholism, which I didn't realize that's what the trick that was being played. I did not recognize that his heavy stride was just this total stranger. And the effects of that were coming from his past, and that being projected on all of us. There's five kids, and there was some abuse, and there was just constant fighting, and it was very difficult. We all have different stories about that, and that's not something that I want to delve into explicitly.
Well, part of that is there because of my fragile frame.
And it breaks again.
Yeah.
As I stretched up to touch the sky, you forgot my name. He just wasn't my dad in those times. And that was hard. I mean, obviously my older siblings recognized that, and my brother, my twin brother and I, we would run and hide. But you think about that and you're like, hiding, and you don't recognize why. You think, as a child, you're like, this is actually fun, we get to climb, and like, and then you go back and you're like, oh my gosh, that was messed up. That was not okay. But as my dad's grown, and I mean, but there's still a ton of residual issues from that. We don't discuss it very much, but he has apologized, and you get the idea. But at the end of the day, I've reconciled with him, and my family has. We have made amends with what was happening then. And I mean, he doesn't remember most of it because, I mean, alcohol is not a joke. Alcoholism is a very angry vice, a dangerous vice. So being able to be, again, redeemed from that, and his fight with that. He's trying to call the preacher man's bluff. He's trying to test it. He's trying to see, test the waters. And I'm here with emotional scars, and yeah, I'm time warping back right now. I'm trying to stay in the present right now. Hopscotch and Bourbon is my favorite song. It is my dad's favorite song. We are great friends now. Was he the father that we needed when we were young? No. Can people change? Yes. Is there redemption? Yes. And is it okay that you are having to deal with the repercussions of your childhood, the consequences of this crazy battlefield as an adult? It sucks, but it happens, and it's not something that we need to skirt away from. I think it's something that we need to talk about, and we need to work through, and we need to stop hiding from, but really, really want to encourage people to, work through those things however you need to. For me, it was writing it out and coming to terms with who I am and why I am such a strong, independent, sometimes hard-headed and stubborn individual. All of these things suffering produces perseverance, perseverance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not disappoint us. So that is in Romans, and Harriet Tubman said it again. So that's something that I go back to, and hope does not disappoint us, and that's the end. It's okay to grow up on this adrenaline rush, this like hiding of like fear or love, adrenaline and love together. Whatever has caused you that fear in the past, whatever has caused you those struggles and that anxiety, that has come and made you whole, made you who you are. So appreciate that and accept it.
I'm very lyric-driven individual.
Good. I am too.
Lyrics.
Good.
And I love to see the turn of phrase in lyrics.
Yeah.
The thing that hit me initially was that dichotomous nature, hopscotch and bourbon,
Yeah.
grape juice and wine, jump ropes, but strung out hopes.
Yeah.
I was catching on that dichotomy, and then was slapped upside the face with your ballerina danced a little too far, pink led to red.
Yeah.
And I go, oh my God, what am I getting into here? And that vividness of childhood and abuse
Yeah.
was just so there from that simple line. I mean, pink turned to red.
Mm-hmm.
But in that context, your ballerina went too far, pink turned to red.
Right.
It said so much without being explicit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you're caught on to that. It is a very deep thing, and I wanted it, I wrote it for myself, obviously, but allowing that openness allows more than just me to feel what it is they need to feel. So, yeah, that's exactly, I mean, you're trailing like a fox, man. That's exactly what it is.
Daddy said when I was young, with his hard heart and a heavier tongue, not much that I could understand, not till much later, what his heavy words lay. My fragile frame breaks again as I stretch up to touch the sky. You forgot my name, there weren't any games, just boards, blanks in our eyes. That's what the preacher meant when he said such is life. Hopscotch and bourbon, grape juice and wine, jump ropes, strung out hopes, strung up just a little too high. Your ballerina danced a little too far. The pink bled to red. Don't you regret your princess's scars? Resemblance in my furrowed brow, a will that arises with that old house that's foundation was built from the insides out. Is that all it is now? Is that all I am now? Hopscotch and bourbon, grape juice and wine, jump ropes, strung out hopes, strung up just a little too high. Your ballerina danced a little too far. The pink bled to red. Don't you regret your princess's scars? Now I run on adrenaline and love. All else was stolen from the basement full of bones, sticks and stones and words that never made much sense. Well, I was young and they've landed since. Now I run on adrenaline and love. I see how you struggle to call that preacher man's bluff. I see your insides, your heavy stride. Now you're on adrenaline and love. Now I know what I've been made of. Hopscotch and bourbon, grape juice and wine, jump ropes, strung out hopes, strung up just a little too high. Your ballerina danced just far enough to know it's fine, yeah, it's alright to grow up on adrenaline and love.
You're listening to Music Local and Sustainable, and I'm your host, Dave Lake. Tonight in the studio, we have Rachael Shaner. It's interesting, again, with a turn of phrase, so it's not obvious, but you get such a wealth of understanding from it. The line about when the preacher man said, "Such is life." Mm-hmm. It sort of sounds like you went out to seek assistance, seek help, but the answer that came was,
right.
That's life.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And again, that's another thing is the struggle with the church. And I do love the church because I'm now in a great church, but growing up it was you can get into so much. You can get into the patriarchy of it, you can get into the turning the other cheek in the wrong way, like you're looking the other way. And wanting that reprieve and instead getting a slap in the face. Since then, obviously, you recognize the sins of people versus the love of Christ, and you can say, unfortunately, sometimes the sins of people get in the way of that. But the love of Christ is still very real, and that is allowing you to forgive and get to this point of redemption and forgive something so deep as, personally, my dad and alcoholism and abuse, and there is this criticism of what was going on growing up, or as I sought help and being turned away by the church. Some people call it being burned by the church. But then recognizing, again, Christ's love can overcome the shadiness and, again, the sins of people, because the church is just a group of people. They're still sinful people, and they are still going to be harsh sometimes, and they're still not going to see things clearly, and they're still going to have warped perspectives. The preacher man being the man, that's why it's like written as the preacher man, so that we can see where the negative connotation of the man and then preacher delving into that and where it gets sticky.
The chorus, too. Now I run on adrenaline and love. All else was stolen. You've deprived me of the other things that I need to survive in this world. Mm-hmm. You've stolen it. You've taken it away. And this is all I'm left with is adrenaline and love.
Right. Yeah. So further, it goes, all else was stolen from the basement full of bones and sticks and stones. And so you've got that, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will not hurt me. The necessary nurturing that we crave and need in those developmental stages, right, was stolen and was not there. And instead was instilled this need to fight, this fear, this running, this confusion. Like I said in the beginning, it just did not understand. Didn't understand. I was young. My sisters were older, and so they have, again, we all have our stories, but that's what it was. It was slavery. I name it as alcoholism. It was my father. This persona was created because of alcohol, and that's what was stolen. Not only my dad, but my childhood and my growth as a person, my character, and then spending all this time trying to reconcile that. But it does make you appreciate families and what other people did have growing up. For a long time, that was a point of envy, obviously. Again, like the end of the song says, I'm so thankful for where it's brought me. It is okay. It's all right to grow up on adrenaline and love and live in that now, because you are able to forgive people so much swifter so much more quickly and with so much more clarity, because you've been given multiple perspectives on what may eat at people, what may ensnare people, what may chain people and their personalities, and what may cause them to do the things that they do and still love the person.
We've already given away the end of the story, so I don't feel too bad about reciting the lines. Your ballerina danced just far enough to know it's fine, it's all right, to grow up on adrenaline and love.
Yes. When you finally decide to come to terms with whatever it was that ailed you, having a community, just like the community that supports me, the music community here, having people around you to just look at you and say, it's okay. And sometimes you have to go to the mirror, and in your tears and in your sadness, you look at yourself and you say, it's all right. It's okay. It happened. It happened. And more things will happen. But now you run. Now you operate with, yes, the same thing that got you through those times when you were younger, in those difficult times, the adrenaline that forced you to get through it, and love. And as long as we can all operate like that, as long as we can just choose to say, I am struggling, we all struggle. And sometimes you are always at the end of your rope. Sometimes your rope ran out a long time ago. You're still trying to make ends meet, but you get with people and you say, it's all right. Encourage. Hold hands, hug, like, be a family. Because at the end of the day, you've got yourself who has to choose to reach out, and you've got each other. And it's all right. It's okay. It's okay if that's what you've got. It's okay if you don't have what everybody else got. It's gonna be all right. Again, it'll be a little bit more joyful. The lessons from that brought me here. So we would not be discussing my album or these songs coming up, because I wouldn't have written them had this not happened. So really gotta keep things in perspective and stay thankful and keep on running, keep on going.
And it truly takes a remarkable individual to use all of this and formulate it into a very positive message.
We can wallow. We can loathe. We can sit in the muck and mire. And if you do, no one can really blame you when you go through hard stuff. Like, yeah, that sucks. However, if you never wash yourself off, if you never pick yourself back up, if you never choose, because the only thing holding you back, the only chains you have, you're holding the key. The shackles that you have, you can free yourself from that. Just move forward. Nobody can blame you if you stay where you're at. But what a glorious thing when you move forward. What a great gift, what a great story, what a great message you have. And it is hard, and I'm not being nonchalant about that. I'm not just brushing that to the side. I hear you. I want to say that I hear you. I want you to see the gold at the end of the fire. I want you to see that purification process, and I want you to be brilliant and shine, and that's the goal.
Words that you don't hear very commonly with one another are woman, upright bass player.
Yeah. Well, let's start with the upright bass player, because I started playing when I was 9. I was playing violin before that, and I had some great teachers, Miss Dunlap and Miss Calhoun, Miss Hooper now. Growing up in Savannah, again, we had the arts programs in schools. I would not have gotten that opportunity. My family was not rich by any means. We could not afford that. There's no way. And I think back on that, I'm thinking, how lucky is it that we have arts in schools? And how much different would it be? Where would I be? I might be addicted to a few things, not music. I might be in jail. There's so many other paths that would have resulted from not having an outlet like this and keeping me out from, because I mean, we lived in Savannah when it was not okay to be downtown. Like, this is back in the day. Everybody's talking about, I mean, yes, it is a dangerous city, but shoot, like, you couldn't walk to Forsyth. Like, you're not allowed to be there. Oh, I say that with a laugh now, but anyway. Like, oh my gosh. All right, so if I did not have that opportunity, if we didn't have arts in schools, if we did not have the strings program in schools, bands, art, dance, choir, I, again, would not be sitting here. I would not be creating music still, would not have that drive. And I might have been doing drugs after school. Like, there's nothing that would have kept me from that. And thankfully, music did.
You started with violin. What caused the change? It's not like you went from violin to viola. You went all the way to the string bass.
Yeah. Oh, I hated the sound. That high end. I hear it now and I'm like, such a new appreciation for it. But back then I just could not deal with it. And I saw this kid playing the bass. They had one bass. Can I please play this? And I swear that I challenged myself to grow, which normally you have to wait till 5th grade or 6th grade. But she let me start playing it in 4th grade. So thank you for that. And I thought I was the coolest thing. But then when I had to carry it home every day on the school bus, I mean, it was heavy. I came up with the most creative ways to carry it. But I just started playing it, and that warmth, that foundational groove was where I wanted to be. The rhythm, it's innate blues style is what it is. It's this heavy, full, tonal beast. The presence is immediate. The lack of it is noticeable. The saying is that if you've got a good bassist, you may not notice that they're there, but you'll definitely notice when they're not there. And so, being an upright bassist, I most of these songs I wrote bass first, and that's exactly what we did in the studio. We recorded the bass first and let everything else build off of that.
Tonight in the studio, we've had Rachael Shaner. This has been a wonderful time. I've just tremendously enjoyed this.
Ditto. Thank you. It's been awesome.
This has been another edition of Music Local and Sustainable, and I've been your host, Dave Lake. Save this time for another show next week.
Well, I know we ain't headed for the Hall of Fame. Gonna give it what we got, man, that ain't no shame. Let me know if you can hear me. Check, 1, 2. Let me know if you can hear me. Check, 1, 2.